Ukraine's long-awaited counteroffensive to retake territory from Russia's occupying forces is continuing after the mutiny of Russia's Wagner mercenary group. Ukraine's counteroffensive is continuing in the eastern Donetsk and southeastern Zaporizhzhia regions, with officials claiming to have taken the strategic initiative near the city of Bakhmut. The fallout from the mutiny by Russia's Wagner mercenaries and its possible implications for President Vladimir Putin continue to be analyzed. Russia has continued missile and drone attacks, including one which killed 12 people in a pizza restaurant in a city in Donetsk. Strategic initiative taken around Bakhmut. Ukraine has continued its counteroffensive operations and says its forces are making gains. The Ukrainian General Staff stated that its forces had seized the strategic initiative around what is left of the eastern city of Bakhmut, most of which has been under Russian control after the longest and possibly bloodiest battle in the war. Ukrainian forces have also continued to carry out offensive operations, with the US-based Institute for the Study of War, ISW, reporting significant fighting in several areas along the front line. On Tuesday, the UK's Ministry of Defence reported that Ukrainian forces were highly likely to have recaptured land in the country's eastern Donbass region occupied by Russia since 2014, when it illegally annexed Ukraine and Russia-backed forces took control of parts of the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. It came days after a Ukrainian commander said land had been retaken near the Russian-occupied village of Krasnohorivka. Speaking during his overnight address on Monday, President Volodymyr Zelensky said it was a happy day for Ukraine but did not give details or talk about any areas specifically. The BBC has not independently confirmed this assessment, and Russian authorities have not mentioned Krasnohorivka in their updates. Ukrainian officials have previously retaken several settlements in the eastern Donetsk region and southern region of Zaporizhzhia, but this would be the first that had been under Russian control since before last February's invasion. Ukrainian forces have also reportedly made gains in the southern Kherson region, crossing the Dnipro River and establishing a foothold on its left bank, according to pro-Russian war bloggers, but again the BBC has not independently confirmed this. Wagner march on Moscow. The latest possible advances come after the 24-hour mutiny by the Wagner mercenary group, which ended 200 kilometers, 125 miles south of Moscow. On Saturday, the private army of mercenaries, which had been fighting alongside the regular Russian army in Ukraine, took over the southern Russian city of Rostov-on-Don, drove along the M4 towards Moscow and shot down Russian military helicopters and a plane on their way. They were led by Yevgeny Prigozhin, who has played a vital role in Russia's military campaign in Ukraine, recruiting thousands to his Wagner mercenary group, especially from Russian jails. He has long been in a public feud with the military chiefs running the war, but that turned into open revolt as they sought to bring his forces under their command structure by July 1. The mutiny was called off after a deal brokered by Belarus's President Alexander Lukashenko, and Mr. Prigozhin is now in Belarus, where he has been promised security. Ukrainian officials have told the BBC they hope the damage they believe the incident has done to Mr. Putin's authority in Russia will ultimately lead to him losing power. "I think the countdown has started," said Andriy Yermak, President Zelensky's closest advisor. Deadly missile strikes continue. Meanwhile, Russia has continued to target Ukrainian cities this week with missile and drone strikes, with one of its most deadly attacks in recent months killing 12 people, including 3 teenagers, on Tuesday. At least 60 more people were injured when the pizza restaurant in Kramatorsk, an eastern city in the Donetsk region which is under Ukrainian control but close to Russian-occupied parts of the country, was targeted. Ria Pizza was a popular venue regularly hosting international journalists, volunteers, and Ukrainian soldiers taking a break from the nearby front lines. Mr. Zelensky says an alleged Russian agent involved in the attack has been arrested and will be charged with treason. Since the start of June, there have been several other fatal missile and drone strikes across the country, including on the capital Kyiv, and Zaporizhzhia, and the port of Odessa in the south. A residential area of Mr. Zelensky's home city of Kryvyi Rih was also hit. More than a year of fighting. Russia's invasion began with dozens of missile strikes on cities all over Ukraine before dawn on February 24, 2022. Russian ground troops moved in quickly and within a few weeks were in control of large areas of Ukraine. They had advanced to the suburbs of Kyiv and controlled much of the northeast of the country around Sumy. Russian forces were bombarding Kharkiv, and they had taken territory in the east and south as far as Kherson, and surrounded the port city of Mariupol. But they hit very strong Ukrainian resistance almost everywhere and faced serious logistical problems with poorly motivated Russian troops suffering shortages of food, water and ammunition. Ukrainian forces were also quick to deploy Western-supplied arms such as the NLAW anti-tank system, which proved highly effective against the Russian advance. More Western arms followed, and by October the picture had changed dramatically. Having failed to take Kiev, Russia had withdrawn completely from the north. Ukraine had its first major success, pushing Russia back from Kharkiv, and counterattacking around Kherson and eventually regaining control of the city. More than a year since the invasion, Ukraine is now hoping its latest counteroffensive can turn the war in its favor.